Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're launching a bit of a forensic investigation into a geographic phenomenon that is literally happening right under our feet, or actually disappearing right from under them. We're looking at the man-made factors driving the destruction of the fastest disappearing landmass on Earth, the coast of Louisiana. This whole story is like a giant, tragic puzzle made up of civil engineering, unintended consequences, biological invaders, and climate change. We're going to break it all down step by step to see the mechanics of how human intervention fundamentally rewrote the map of the United States.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this single number sets the stage for exactly why this matters right now. 100. On average, Louisiana loses a football pitch-sized area of its coastal wetlands every 100 minutes. I mean, think about that for a second. In the time it takes you to watch a standard movie, an area of land that has existed for thousands of years is completely swallowed by the ocean. It's an absolutely astonishing rate of destruction, and it's happening continuously around the clock. To put that rapid pace into historical perspective, consider the sheer scale here. More than 5,000 square kilometers of wetlands have vanished since the 1930s. That's an area roughly twice the entire size of the country of Luxembourg, just entirely erased from the globe. So the crucial takeaway here is that this isn't some minor erosion issue we're talking about. It's a massive systemic collapse. Now, to understand exactly how human intervention broke this ecosystem, we first need to work backward and look at how this land was actually built in the first place. Section 1. Breaking the natural balance. How the Delta originally survived. You see, the geography of southern Louisiana isn't static. Historically, it's been a living, breathing, moving system. The Mississippi River drains a massive 41% of the entire United States. And historically, it brought a colossal amount of sediment from all across the continent and naturally flooded, depositing that soil to build up the muddy, marshy wetlands. But at the exact same time, this low-elevation muddy land naturally compresses and sinks beneath the sea over time. So for eons, there was this perfect natural balance. The rate of new sediment getting deposited, combined with the new plant growth anchoring it down, was higher than the rate of natural sinking. That resulted in thousands of years of continuous land growth. It was a flawless, self-sustaining loop.
Section 2. Straitjacketing the river. Engineering a crisis.
So what went wrong? Well, we started implementing massive civil engineering projects to protect the growing industrial infrastructure along the river's banks. And this timeline brilliantly illustrates the domino effect of those decisions. Beginning in 1928, enormous levees were constructed along the lower Mississippi. This effectively put the river in a straitjacket, preventing it from flooding. But crucially, it also prevented the river from depositing that vital land-building sediment into the wetlands, instead forcing it to be wasted directly into the Gulf of Mexico. Then, by the 1950s, engineers realized the river naturally wanted to shift its course toward the Atchafalaya River. To prevent this, which would have absolutely ruined the petrochemical industries and the ports in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers built the old river control structure in the early 1960s. This locked the river in place, but blocked even more sediment. Finally, by the late 20th century, further upstream dams and locks trapped whatever soil was left. What's really interesting here is that we can actually quantify the impact of those engineering choices with a staggering drop-off. Compared to the historical baseline in 1850, the modern amount of sediment even reaching the lower Mississippi has been reduced by a whopping 70%. And remember, because of those levees we just talked about, most of that remaining 30% just gets dumped uselessly into the ocean. By starving the lower Mississippi of its sediment, we completely broke the delta's natural ability to outpace erosion and sinking. The balance completely flipped. Section 3. Canals, spills, and rodents. Layering the accelerants. Enter the nutria. This is a semi-aquatic rodent originally from South America, kind of resembling a really large beaver. Fur traders introduced them to Louisiana in the 1930s. Then, a massive hurricane struck in 1940, enclosures were destroyed, and trappers basically just released the rest into the wild. They rapidly proliferated into a feral population of millions. And here is exactly why they are so devastating. They don't just graze on plants, they literally rip out the entire root systems. In these fragile coastal wetlands, those root systems are the only thing anchoring the soil. Without them, the land just washes away. So we have a perfect storm of compounding man-made threats. You have the oil and gas industry, which dug thousands of miles of navigation and extraction canals. These canals essentially acted as superhighways for ocean saltwater to intrude deep into freshwater ecosystems, killing off the vegetation. You have the millions of nutria destroying whatever root systems were left. And then you layer on catastrophic industrial accidents like the 2010 BP Deepwater Horizon explosion, which was the largest oil spill in world history. That disaster further devastated hundreds of miles of this already incredibly fragile coastal environment. Just to highlight how seriously the state takes this biological accelerant, consider this number: $6. Since 2002, the nutria problem has been so severe that the Louisiana government instituted a bounty system. Hunters earn $6 for every single nutria they kill. Get this, some of the top hunters can actually make up to $120,000 a single season just trying to cull the population of these rodents to save the remaining soil. Wild, right?
Section 4. The climate change multiplier, a dual threat. Now here is where things get even more serious. Coastal Louisiana is rapidly sinking due to nearly a century of human engineering, at the exact same time that sea levels are rising globally due to anthropogenic climate change. This convergence makes the region arguably the most dangerously exposed coastal community in the entire world. And this has a terrifying cascading effect. The coastal wetlands are supposed to act as a natural sponge and buffer against storm surges. As they vanish, hurricanes like Katrina and Rita back in 2005 become profoundly more destructive because there's just no land left to absorb the impact. Projections from a May 2026 paper published in the journal Nature are incredibly sobering. They analyze relative sea level rise, which accounts for both the rising water and the sinking land, by the year 2070. Under the 3-meter scenario, up to 75% of the state's remaining wetlands are lost. The coastal defenses of New Orleans hold, but it essentially becomes a dangerously exposed, bowl-shaped island below sea level. Under the 7-meter scenario, it's complete devastation. The paper calculates that no amount of money or defenses can save New Orleans. It would be buried entirely beneath the sea. What's most striking is that researchers argue either scenario is virtually inevitable at this point, putting the 1.2 million people living in these coastal areas in severe jeopardy.
Section 5. Abandoning the coast. Giving up the fight.
We can actually see this play out in a recent sequence of events. Step 1. In 2023, there was hope. The state broke ground on the Mid-Barataria Sediment Diversion Project. This was a massive $3 billion mega project designed to punch a hole in the levee and restore the natural flow of sediment to rebuild up to 20 square miles of land. Step 2. Just 2 years later, in 2025, the Louisiana government abruptly scrapped the entire project, citing the $3 billion price tag is too expensive and listening to concerns from the fishing industry. And Step 3. In May of 2026, the U.S. Supreme Court allowed Chevron to contest a $740 million state jury penalty. That money was specifically meant to force oil and gas companies to help fix the environmental harm caused by dredging their canals. Together, these events effectively signal a halt to major state-level restoration and funding efforts. The timeline for buying the coast more time has seemingly just stopped. Which leaves us with this final, profound question to consider. With restoration projects scrapped, legal funding in doubt, the land continually sinking, and the sea relentlessly rising, will New Orleans become the first major American city forced to be abandoned due to our own human engineering and climate choices? It's a stark reminder of the ultimate cost of prioritizing short-term gains and trying to out-engineer nature, rather than working alongside it. Think about that the next time you look at a map of the coast, because it's changing as we speak. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.